Hey, what's up folks, Jam Book Reviews here, and today I'll be reviewing the Coyaba Chronicles by Peter Abrahams. Now, who was Peter Abrahams? Well, he was a South African novelist and journalist who was probably best known for his novel Mind Boy, published in 1946, which documented the life of a miner under the apartheid system. It is considered the first African novel written in English to attract international attention. Mr. Abrahams spent much of his early years traveling around the world, where he met and worked with many important black leaders. He later settled down with his wife in Jamaica in the 1950s, where he continued to work both as a journalist and on radio. In 1994, he was awarded a Gold Musgrave Medal from the Institute of Jamaica for his work. Sadly, Mr. Abrahams was murdered at his home in 2017 at the age of 97. Now this work is Mr. Abrahams' last published book released in the year 2000. It is a memoir covering his life and more broadly the experiences of black people in the 20th century. The title is derived from a Taino word meaning heaven or place of rest, which Mr. Abrahams affectionately called his home in Jamaica. The book starts with Mr. Abrahams' life as a young man in Africa with his family under the apartheid system. He put his early experiences into perspective by drawing on the ideas of the two major black thinkers of the time, W.E.B. Du Bois and Marcus Garvey. The book then covers his time as a sailor in World War II and his years as a journalist in post-war Britain. Mr. Abrahams was able to capture and dissect the prevailing attitudes of British people at the time towards the many men and women from the colonies who came to defend what they considered the mother country. The book then takes you to post-war Paris and the southern United States, where Mr. Abrahams compares and contrasts the lives of black people in the different nations. After his many travels, he decided to settle down in Jamaica, where he witnessed and documented the country's transformation from independence up to the 90s. So, as you can see, the book takes you to many different places, and through Mr. Abrahams, you get to meet so many interesting people. He was like one of those people who just knew everybody who was anybody in the black struggle at the time. So in London, through Mr. Abrahams, you get to meet the famous journalist George Padmore, as well as leaders Kwame Nkrumah and Jomo Kenyatta back when they were university students, as they were all part of the same group. In Paris, you are introduced to an older Richard Wright after the fame of his novel Native Son, and in the United States, you meet the great American poet Langston Hughes. So lots of amazing people. But at the same time, the book is deeply personal. Mr. Abrahams passionately describes the struggle of being a young writer trying to get published while trying to support a family. For him, the struggle against racism is both personal and political, as his wife's white family did not want them to get married, and they were continuously discriminated against as an interracial couple. Mr. Abrams was also able to convey the feeling of always being uprooted and moving from place to place, trying to find somewhere safe to call home. But this is not a sad story. Mr. Abrams' faith in humanity never wanes throughout the book. You can see that he has a deep conviction that racial unity and world peace can be achieved in the long run. So, this is an amazing book. My only criticism is that it spent the least amount of time in South Africa. I would have wanted to learn a little more about his youth, but I suspect this is explored in like other books and novels that he has written. So I think the book should be read by people who are interested in what life was like for black writers and interracial couples in the mid-20th century, as well as for people who like to read, like travelogues, although this is a bit more critical in its approach. With all that being said, I rank the book 5 out of 5 stars. If you like this book, I would also recommend you read The Soul of Black Folks by W.E.B. Du Bois, you can see that or tell that it was very influential on Mr. Abrams, and it's a very important work by itself. So thank you for listening to my review, and see you in the next one.